welcome to Book with Kiba, the podcast where we talk about books, reading culture, and all opinions that come with it, being emotionally attached to fictional characters. I'm your host, Kiba. Whether you're reading on a Kindle, listening to an audiobook, or trying to get out of a reading slump, you're in the right place. Let's get booked. Today is one of that topic that always sparks debate in the bookish community. I've talked about this briefly in other episodes. Can you fairly rate a book that you did not finish? Or should you keep your rating yourself until you have read the very last page? I've seen readers passionately argue both sides. Honestly, I understand where each side is coming from. So today we're going to be diving into DNF debate and talking whether rating unfinished book is fair or false. So let's get into it. Before we even start, let's make sure we are all on the same page. DNF simply means did not finish. You did not finish the book. Maybe you have stopped after like 20 pages, maybe halfway through, maybe you were 90% done and you just couldn't push yourself to finish. Whatever the reason you decide the book wasn't for you, now comes the real question, can you still rate it? The argument against rating a DNF, let's start with that side that says no. The biggest argument is simply, how can you judge a book that you did not finish? And I think that's a fair question. Some books have incredible ending that completely change the perspective. Others start slowly and become amazing later on. We've all read books where the first 500 pages, joking, the first 100 pages were a struggle, but the end, we couldn't stop thinking about them. So, if you stop too early, you may miss the payoff the author spent the entire book building towards. Another point people make is that rating influence other readers. One-star reviews can discourage someone from picking up a book. And if that's not true, I don't know what else is. If a review comes from someone who only read 15% of the book, some readers feel that's unfair to the author, and I understand that perspective. The argument for rating a DNF book. Now let's look on this side of the story. My question is, if I stopped reading a book because I wasn't enjoying the book, isn't that a part of the reading experience? If I make it halfway through a book and I'm bored, confused, disconnected from everything that is going on, or simply not having a good time, that is still valuable information. Why should I pretend those feelings don't count just because I didn't reach the final page? Books are created to be read, and if the reading experience isn't working for me, it's worth talking about. Here's where the conversation gets interesting. I don't think every DNF is the same. If you stop after 5 pages because you didn't like the font or you didn't like the character's name, I don't think that's enough to rate a book. But if you read 40%, 50%, or even 70% of a novel, you spend hours with this story. You have experienced the writing style, you've met the characters, you've seen the pacing, you've gotten a feel for the dialogue. At this point, I think your opinion carries more weight. It carries weight regardless. One thing I think sometimes we forget is that bad reading experiences doesn't automatically make it a bad book. Sometimes it's just the wrong book for the wrong reader. I've picked up books that thousands of people absolutely love and they just didn't work for me. That doesn't mean that everyone else is wrong. It just means that our reading tastes are different. And I think it's important to make the distinction when leaving a review. Instead of saying this book is terrible and leave it at that, you can say this didn't work for me because the pacing was off for me. Something of the sort, gives some form of context. This opens the door for discussion instead of shutting it down. So where I stand personally, I think it's okay to rate a book that you did not finish. If you're transparent about it, if I'm reviewing a DNF, I think it's important to tell people, I stopped at 45%, or I made it halfway and decided this wasn't for me, and you give context. The context matters. It lets people understand where your opinions are coming from. It also leaves room for someone to say, you know what, the book really picks up after this point. No, if we started a conversation instead of an argument. Authors reading DNF reviews. This also makes me think about authors reading the reviews. I know it can't be easy for someone to DNF your book, but I also think there's value in honest reader feedback. If multiple readers are saying the pacing was slow or I struggle to connect with the storyline, that's useful information. Not every criticism is hate. Sometimes it's simply one reader explaining why the story did not connect with them. And I think there's room for both honest review and respectful conversation, and the author can use this to actually propel their work in the next book to come. So, can you rate a book you did not finish? For me, the answer is yes, but with honesty and transparency. Tell readers how far you've got. Explain why you stopped. Make it clear that you're reviewing your experience, not declaring an object truth about the book because you did not finish it. Because at the end of the day, reading is personal. The same book that becomes my DNF might become your favorite book of your lifetime. And that's one thing I love most about reading. No, I want to hear from you. Do you rate books that you did not finish? And if you do, how far into a book do you have to get before you feel comfortable leaving a rating? Is it 25%? Is it 50? Is it 60? Or do you think an unfinished book shouldn't be rated at all? I would love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for spending some time with me here on Book with Kiba. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow the podcast, share it with fellow reader. Until next time, happy reading and stay booked.